Greetings and welcome to Matrix Revealed Presentation 12. A word that sort of came into my head a little while ago. I was watching Captain Kirk's excellent videos on showing architecture in what we think of as, or was, Tartaria collectively. And the word founded you'll find associated with so many institutions and buildings, and you have the foundation stones, but found dead. I would suggest from that word is just telling us right there that these cities were completely devoid of people after some sort of cataclysm, a flood or whatever. I wouldn't even rule out direct energy weapons, thinly disguised and described as comets, as being part of the cause of all of this. But foundation is another very interesting word in itself. If you think about it, when you see a building, you don't actually see the foundations, you only see what is built on top of it, just like lies that we're told in the media and the controlled opposition that will mislead us and take us down wrong routes. You always got to stand back from the bigger picture with everything and always look for the silent third player. Earlier on I had, shall we say, a conversation about these cooperative farms being set up in, I think, Dorset in the UK on a BBC programme, and I said, well, how does that make you feel? Not very happy. I said, well, don't you think that's what these programmes are designed exactly to do, regardless of the subject, because they will go heavily into details, and remember, the devil is always in the detail. Always stand back and look at what the underlying message of it is, and think about, how does it make you feel? Does it trigger you? Does it leave you with negative emotions and things? The best thing with the television is to do, as is suggested, you unplug from the matrix, because that is in some ways like the all-seeing eye. It's feeding you and filling you with a bad diet for the mind, and it comes out as verbal diarrhea when you have too much of it, and then the rest of us have to suffer with it. But it's like, well, I said, well, what was the cause of the problems with the farms? The government. It's interesting as well when we talk about things like Lucifer and Satan and oh dear, all these other demonic entities. But this is the whole thing. Look at the word entity as well. It's a lord entwined. The Vatican can be described as an entity. I watched Paul Black Sheep Researcher channel earlier, looking at the Vatican, and I recommend looking at that one as well. I'm going to put a list of some of the other channels I haven't recommended, where I've watched some of their videos. I'll give you all the Tartaria ones and the ones looking at Earth as well in various aspects. They're all worth having a peruse through and build up a general picture of everything. We have got the answers between us anyway. It's just a little bit of dot joining, and that really is the sort of topic of this video. So park yourself down and I will be linking something together for you. Big clue as to what I'm going to talk about. A group called Linkin Park. Charlie, was it Bedding? I can never remember the name. Beddingham. Friends of Chris Cornell, and I think he was the adopted son of one of the Podesta brothers, and I think they've joined, was it the 42 Club or the 27 Club, these sacrificial artists. There's a great long list of them that you can look into. If you just put in 27 Club, you'll find there's lots of people who've, like Jimi Hendrix comes to mind, Jim Morrison, all worth, it goes in what is known as the conspiracies, but it's funny how they're all at that certain age, 2 and 7 making 9, for example, and the 4 and 2 making 6. But I've digressed a bit, and also I would recommend really watching the song "Nearly Forgot My Broken Heart" by Chris Cornell. Your soul is basically that rocket in that video, and if you don't get it, you'll just, it's like the song says, here we go round again. And I would suggest that's the 25,920 years. So this thing about why do we bother trying to wake people up? Well, I'm looking at this long term. If they don't get through this time, then it might actually help them to break the cycle next time. Today's sheep may be tomorrow's truth seekers, you could say. It's sort of a progressive step. Well, hope anyway. We've gone way off topic, sort of here, but that's the way it goes. I don't, as I've said before, I don't have anything scripted. I just have it sort of roughly in my head, the topic, and then just go with the flow of it. But I'm captain of my vessel, so I can stop the flow at any point. But we will get back to this Linkin Park group. Now, there's an album called 1,000 Suns. Now, straight away, it's like, ooh, that's interesting. The energy centers in the body, the 6 chakras within the body, the number of petals, they increase as they go up, come to 144. Then, when you send that spiritual oil up to your crown chakra, which is just outside the body, it multiplies by 1,000 times. So that could be where the idea of 1,000 suns come from. Now, what is incredible about this album, it's not just the lyrics of every song on the album, but even the song titles and the order that they are in. So I'll just give you a rundown here. I can't obviously play any of the music because that would risk a copyright strike. I wouldn't even know how to go about getting the music, and I bet there'll be royalties or something that's... But I like to give this information away freely, and I'm not charging, and I'm certainly not paying. We've all paid enough. So the first track, for example, is called The Requiem, and it quotes the voice of Robert Oppenheimer with the first bomb, and it makes reference to... I'm trying to remember the name of the multi-armed form to impress the king, and says, "Now I have become death, the destroyer of this world." Track 2 is called The Radiance. Track 3 is called Burning of the Skies. Now, chemtrails comes to mind straight away with this. Paul on Black Sheep Researcher spoke of this earlier about how the clouds and the weather, it's a frequency, and obviously as a vibration, you feel down anyway when it's cloudy and overcast. It's not that same uplifting feeling as being in the sun. So on a grand overall scale, they are lowering the vibration just by doing that. Then the mind foods or the bad diet that's being stuffed into these empty spaces that most people have who watch the television will just reinforce that even further, plus all the other bombardments as well. So it's no wonder some people just won't wake up. But we have to try, because in doing so we are creating in sound a different vibration to try and balance it out. And it does seem that the early signs are already starting to come. A lot of you that I talk to have been through and are going through hell, and this is our sort of lifeline in a way. So we know that we are not alone. There are far more of us than it feels like at times, because in the physical world it feels we are very much in isolation. So it's like depression, anxiety, panic attacks. It always feels like it's only you, and it's you versus the rest of the world, but it's far from that. That is the illusion. The looshing is ill, that's why it's illusion. It's not enlightenment. So we'll go back to this now. Right, burning of the skies. You've got the chemtrailing, the crisscrosses in the sky. I suggest it's not as bad as they're putting it out to be. I think a lot of that is fear generated. I know about all the barium and the aluminum. particles and various other things in there. But you have to also think there's always another side to this. They don't just give you one story. It's all about confusion. So there will always be another flip side to it somewhere along the line. It could be that having a greater knowledge and potentially being the same controllers of the last reset, they know exactly what they're doing, and the chemtrailing is something as a form of protection of them rather than us. You have to look at all these things. Don't always see the negative aspects of all these things, because there are positives. As I did on a video recently, the positive aspects of depression. Most people will think, well, how can there be positive aspects? Well, there is, because it means your frequencies have started to open up at the very earliest levels, and because it is a new experience, it feels like everything. You start to become aware that everything is wrong. And we've got way off the album again, but this is the way it goes. So track number 4 is called Empty Spaces. I can't even remember now how the song goes, and I didn't play a bit. Then track 5 is called When They Come For Me. Now I can remember off the top of my head, it goes on the lines of, and when they come for me, I'll be gone. It could be like a reference to ascension, your soul leaving the physical body behind, because as I've suggested before, we are the stars. We are in 2 days, 2 projections, a conscious and a subconscious one. So life is but a dream, is the saying, and we can make dreams come true. So in this conscious reality, we can change the frequency, and this is really the whole purpose of these videos that I'm doing, and a lot of you out there are doing as well. And it is fantastic the way all the synchronized thoughts, they're all coming together. I like to link a bit of the spiritual and the truth seeking, and I think that's very important to have both sides of this, the emotional side and the logical side, and being the balance, being the scales. You don't want to be like that swingometer, going from a red political party to a blue political party, and then back to a red political party, and then back to a blue, and so on and so on. And then we've got an emotion going on now, so we need to bring it back. We need to consult the Akashic record, the librarian, the Libran. It's in balance. It's the scales. That's all we've got to be. Stay neutral. Don't feed into the energy of the negatives. So, back to the album at part 3, isn't it? Yeah, When They Come For Me. Then there's a song called Robot Boy. Straight away, again, you can see the, Project Greta, I would call it. I'll be back. You stole my childhood. Then, next song, I presume it's in Spanish or Portuguese, Giordano de Merito. Well, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Funny, myrrh is also the French word for the sea. We're back on, Holy See. We see how this all sort of references and things tie in. See, I'm not sure what the translation for that song would be. Jornada, which I presume means day, like jour in French. Spanish is another, what they call the Latin languages. So I'm guessing Jornada means Jornada del Merito, day of the myrrh. Well, myrrh is associated with death in the gold, frankincense, and myrrh references. Followed by a song called Waiting for the End. Brilliant song. It goes something on the lines about reaching up with hands in the air, like there's something invisible there. And then it talks about, I'm just trying to remember now. The trouble is I can't keep all these songs in my head. As I'm sort of hearing one song, the next song, you think, oh yeah, I know what's coming up now. And when it's playing, you know it's sort of word for word, but then trying to sort of go back to it like this. about chasing all the things that you don't need. It's about letting go of everything, and it really does seem to be the case with this path of basically, like, if the whole house and all the possessions were burning and were going up in flames around me, it's like, well, so what? I can get everything I need. I don't even have to carry it in the head. You mine the mind, you empty it, and it allows for the free flow of information. Obviously, you've got to protect yourself as well. I can see actually a day coming that if you can get that Taurus field strength, that spiritual energy that we radiate out, we could actually go out in the rain and we wouldn't even get wet. Might get a few funny looks from people and like, how come you stay dry? And it's like, oh, don't even ask, because you won't get it if I do try to explain it to you anyway. But imagine how long a video that would take. Explaining to someone who is totally in the matrix and why you're not getting wet. Taurus fields, magnetic energy. Oh, you've lost me. Well, you stick with your science. Put your trust in science, because it has come so far. So, Blackout is track number 9. That seems to be like a transitional period, you could say. You go into the darkness to find the light. Wretches and Kings, very interesting track. Straight away, I will use a biblical analogy to this. I mean, you got to ask yourself, this King of Kings, the Son of God, what does he do? He washes the feet of the disciples. Well, that's cleansing of the souls, is it not? So is a king that is serving. He's being served, but he's also serving in that sense. He's giving back as well. It's a benevolent kingship. It's not being king over somebody else. It's being king of yourself, being captain of your vessel, remaining sovereign to yourself as well. So then we have wisdom, justice, and love. Another very good song, and it quotes a soundtrack of what must have been a speech. I don't know the origins of it, which is actually very true of today. When the operation of the machine becomes so odious, so sick at heart, that you cannot take part, you cannot passively take part. And that, I think, is a stage that a lot of us have got to. It's like, I'm not paying taxes, I'm not paying for all this shit, because I'm feeding the monster that is actually working against me. So I'm doing as best I can. I haven't got the perfect remedy, and we've all got different circumstances to this. But the more we can starve this monster and not contribute to it financially, because the money, the moon eye, is the mechanism, the driving force. And so many people now are in a position where they are described in the United States as being one paycheck away from being homeless. The lure of money, if they're in the matrix, they are going to take that money, because it may be just not even for bad reasons. They will take that because they see it as a quick fix way, a lottery win, as it were, of getting themselves out of the situation. It's not going to make them a better person. They're not going to be any more benevolent. They might look after their immediate three-dimensional family, but they won't see a bigger picture beyond that. But they're not at that level. They are the missing links. They don't use these terms for no reason. They do have an origin of truth. Every lie is built on a foundation of truth. You cannot have a lie without a foundation of truth, and that is this one here. So what do we got next? Iridescent. Then we have a Fallout, pretty self-explanatory, and a song called The Catalyst. Basically talking about being an oppressed people under a loaded gun, and it's a choral response from the whole band. It's absolutely a brilliant song, and it finally ends with a song called The Messenger, and what a wonderful song that is. Now, there is 2 key lines in that song. It says, life will make us blind, but love will keep us kind. And what a fantastic song to end on. For those of you not familiar with Linkin Park, they are a, how do we describe them? A sort of a thrash metal come rap band, I suppose. It won't suit everybody's taste, but you can get lyric versions, and it's the words that are perhaps the most important element of this whole album. But I would also suggest look at the way the music is used as well. There's one, it sounds actually like someone who is not very accomplished on the piano at the start, but it builds and builds and builds. It is a brilliant song, and there's some very uplifting moments in it, and that's what it's all about. I've said before, okay, the frequency might not be quite right, it might be slightly out, but are we not here to adjust things anyway? So even if it's not at the perfect 432, and you can get computer programs to alter the frequency of all this music as well, if you're so inclined. But even at 440, you can still get that uplifting feeling from the music. It's the intent that you want to give to the thing, whether you want to see it as good or as bad, I would say to this. Anyway, I've talked for 21:12. How about that? Number sequences again. So I will end that there, and I will say ta-ta for now, and I will put links in the description to other channels. Finally, before I go, wow, big thank you. I've been sort of promoted by other channels. Lee, Flat Earth British Sub, Karen Unscrambled Channel, Paul, Black Sheep Researcher, and Martin Liedker, Flat Earth British. Thank you so much. I mean, it's gone from 540 to 597, then I jumped to 666, and I thought, oh dear, I'm probably going to be stuck on that number forever now. But then it leapt overnight to over 700. It's now just under 900, or it was last time I looked, and I've never had so many people viewing in that 48-hour thing that you can pull up on the analytics. It's interesting to have a look at that, the way it sort of fluctuates. I don't know how they come up with these figures, but it's not about numbers. I'm going to push some of the smaller channels that I subscribe to as well, because there's some real priceless gems of information on those channels that they need promoting. We need to spread the words. We're all contributing. We're all, think of it like a spiritual picnic. We're all bringing something together for this massive street party. You might be bringing a jar of pickles or sandwiches or cakes or whatever. Vegan, please. But this is mind food. This is soul food that we're bringing to this, and we're all contributing. We're all giving up our time. We're all trying to spread the message and change the vibration. This is what it's all about. And as I've said before, spoiler alert, we've won this already, but that doesn't mean sit back and do nothing. Because think of it in the three-dimensional sense, what appears to be happening, it doesn't paint a pretty picture, and we will really need to come together and help each other if the few that get through it. Otherwise it's going to be very, very lonely out there, and sharing is caring after all. I'm not going to say it's going to be definitely this play out or that play out. All I know is that we have won this, but it doesn't mean we sit back and do nothing and rest on our laurels. I mean, there are secret societies who use laurel wreaths and things. They can keep that. Good luck to them. I'd rather they were growing on the tree, on the side of nature every time. So love and peace to you all, and ta-ta for now. I'm going this time.